November the 22nd, 2011. This is another evening. It's 8:30 right now, past 8:30, here in so-called Slovenia. Past 8:30 because this is about first opportunity I have actually today to record this video, is what I'm trying to say. First opportunity because the heavy-duty construction work today started at 7 o'clock right underneath the window. Family members as well contributed with a blasting TV, slamming, crashing the doors, running back and forth is basically what they do all the time. And all this disturbances, all this disruption have significantly contributed to all these projects. And it definitely will make recording of the video what is impossible. If not already destructed, then definitely the background noise will take that away from you. So you won't be able to record with the video. But previous video which I have recorded just 2 days ago, I really like that video. You could see pretty much what takes place in so-called Slovenia, where communists are doing just about everything possible to populate this country with Serbs, with Yugoslavs, in order to basically create what will be new Serbia or new Yugoslavia, if you like, because they are just their idea is just that small Russia basically have to grow. You know, the small Russia, which is growing like this for over 66 years now. And basically, despite what would be the independence of these new countries, independence, let's say on paper only. On previous video, I did talk to you about illegal internet charges, or what steps exactly have government taken to basically get me behind the bars. I did talk to you about that. The internet charge of almost $500 appeared, which equals to 290 euros, versus what should be really no more than 15 euros, 22 US dollars. But really the idea behind this is, as I was told by the people several years ago already, what will take place, and so far truly everything is taking place, including construction. This internet charges, any kind of charges, it's what really government very much anticipated to. It's actually to get me behind the bars where I would be killed, is what I was told. What other steps did the government take to get me somehow behind the bars? Well, today I'm about to discuss with you about what this here is, and what appeared to me as what it appeared as what would be fishing, illegal fishing fee penalty. That's actually a penalty of $500 US is what they demanded from me for something I haven't committed at all. The cases, as I mentioned previously, my parents, if on any occasion I would leave this residence with them, I would have acquaintances, I would meet previous acquaintances at 100% rate, and being locked here in this room doing my job. This really is a prison, 3 times 3 meters of prison, and it's all I have is a little room. So being fisherman since my 4 years of age, and having father to offer me how we are going to go fishing, I did accept his invitation, and upon arrival for fishing, we did not even park our vehicle when game warden appeared out of nowhere, basically demanded inspection of fishing rods which were still inside of the car. I handed him the fishing pole, the spin fishing pole, where there was absolutely no bait on it. Father was present. There was absolutely no bait on that fishing pole. He had his date. He had dated his license. It was written inside of the license. We were 100 meters away from the water. before you know, you have this individual threatening basically how, not threatening, but giving me a life advice, you know, how I should obey, how I should simply obey the laws and act accordingly to society's normatives. He started to talk about the normatives, what actually really pissed me off. Because this was not a fishing trip, this was more than anything intimidation trip. We were not there to go fish, but we were there basically, what he gave me also advice was, you have to buy, no, it was not almost advice, it was you have to buy a fishing license. Well, really, actually, it was not his business to give me, you know, to give me advice, what I should do in my life, or what I should not, how I should not act, or what, and this and that, because I don't believe that game wardens, that governments should actually use game wardens to have them stalk people and then give them advice, and that's basically advice based on genocide, as we are discussing here in my case. I don't believe that this is actually a job of the game warden. You know, the 25th article in statute, in Slovenian statute, it's very explicit on game wardens, as per they're not right to basically spy on people. Spy on people defines as observe them with the binoculars for extended lengths of time. I am actually more than just intimidated in this case, you know, being a victim of genocide from this communist pro-Yugoslav scum here, and not even commit crime, being stalked and then actually intimidated by these people. Not only spied on, but literally policed, 24/7, stalked. And as a result of my perhaps non-acceptance of his gestures, how I should go and purchase fishing ticket, this and that. As I told him, listen, I said, this is none of your business. Okay, if you're here and you want to issue me a ticket, if this is what you're here, please write me a ticket. Other than that, I told him in the face, just get lost, just disappear. I told him like that. Okay, if you want to write me a ticket, just write me a ticket. I'm not saying anything to you. Write me a ticket. But other than that, just bid it. Just get lost. That's it. Of course, there was no reason for him to write me a ticket because the violation did not exist at all at that point. We did not fish. We were 100 meters. We were not close to the water at all yet. We did not start fishing yet. He was not even capable to determine who's going to fish on what rod and so on and so forth. And yet, after 1 month and a half, I mentioned 1 month and 3 weeks. I mentioned this because the limit to send individual a post ticket, which is a post penalty, after penalty, after you have inspected, let's say, individual and you have found him guilty of something, they have what is a time limit, what is 30 days. In this case, these people have sent me what was, after 1 month and 3 weeks, completely wrongful allegation, lie, a lie in the face, how this individual have actually caught me fishing, how he have caught me fishing with illegal bait. He made up his mind in his head how I have fished on illegal baits and so on and so forth, with a penalty of 250 euros, or what also would be 430 United States dollars. How I have to defend myself, I don't know, on court of law, and I don't know what, and the whole thing did not make any sense, and it doesn't make any sense to me at all. I mean, if the law would really work like this, then the police officers could just step to the parking lot, write down the tag numbers from vehicles, and basically have people summoned to the courts, actually demand from them penalties, 250 euros, $500 to pay them for something they haven't even committed. You can't go and charge people based on something that someone did not commit it, that you don't have any proofs of it. Yes, they are also, these game wardens are also advised to take the pictures of the people whenever they get them fishing illegally and so on and so forth. This guy doesn't have anything like picture. It does not exist. There are no proofs, there are no pictures, there is absolutely nothing. The whole thing is really a lie. With anything that I do, anything that I move, they're simply picking on just about anything that would give them opportunity to get me behind the bars, to get me somehow punished, and where I would be killed behind the bars. Now, when you're partially familiarized with exactly what steps the so-called Slovenian government took in order to not only disrupt my complaining about total denial of the basic human rights, but further to even file false charges against me in order to get me behind bars, incarcerate, with intention to kill me. Now, when you already know about that, and I have mentioned total denial of the right to existence because several assassination attempts have taken place, about which I have already complained to Human Court for Human Rights, European Human Rights Ombudsman Diamandouros, United Nations, Amnesty International have filed asylums against the United States and Slovenia in Canada, Germany, Belgium, Norway. And what I have to decry how nothing was ever done in respect to that, in respect to my complaints. So therefore, now when you know about what so-called Slovenian have done to literally get me killed and not only to disrupt me, it's time for me to mention what was 18-month period. Yes, 18-month period which have taken place in 2006, 2007 and 2008. I am referring to 18-month period which have taken place upon my return of my own from United States of America to so-called Slovenia in 2006 for the first time after 11 years and a half in United States of America. And I have stated my return on my own deliberately because I was abducted in 1998. I was extraordinary rendition took place, which was conducted against me by Swedish and Norwegian psychiatrists on behalf of pro-Yugoslav communist scum, which we have today in Parliament and have had all this time. Who were in total agreement also with United States of authorities, where Jews in Miami have opened them doors for this extraordinary rendition, abduction, and I am referring to the FBI, where Drew was the one who have handled my case. I have the information, and am referring also to certain sources of CIA who have agreed with pro-Yugoslav Slovenian criminal communist government to have this abduction going. So therefore in 2006 it was for the first time after 11 and a half years, continuous 11 and a half years, that I have decided to return back to so-called Slovenia on my own. And this not to be mixed up. I have absolutely nothing to do with it. Parents were also involved in it. Parents also were heavily involved in it, as you're about to find out why and how. Anyhow, 18-month period in 2006, 2007, 2008, for which I have to exclaim how one did not defer at all from what is taking place in so-called Slovenia against me since November the 19th, 2010. Why? Because during this 18-month period, I was forcefully unemployed. I was summoned for jobs as far as 150 miles in one direction, and continually, repeatedly, on distances which consisted of up to 50 to 60 miles for what were job interviews upon which never work job was offered. Therefore, it was nothing else than really severe bullying. Jobs that were offered during that 18-month period were jobs that were either unpaid or were used as a torture procedures against me. The positions I have held during that 18-month period was one on a car assembly line, and that basically as a mechanical engineering technician and maintenance mechanic is educated for. The position that was offered to me on a car assembly line was for regular worker, uneducated workforce that consisted mainly of labor force or workers from other parts, from other countries that used to come here for seasonal work. And therefore I was compelled into work with non-natives as a regular labor at a rate of 400 euros, position on a car assembly line, which consisted or was combined from two positions. They have used two positions to create one positions out of that one on a car assembly line, and I don't know how much you understand what that exactly means, but if I made this short for you, it meant for me to lose several liters of water every 2 hours. It was impossible, and I had to quit one after 2 weeks. That's basically what that is. On other occasions, I was compelled to sleep down on the floor when told how we would go on a probe ride, how we would test the trucks to see how my driving skills are, and that's already after I had extensive experience in the United States with the truck driving, and after I have already conducted truck driving in so-called Slovenia. And it was all used for bullying. I was compelled into driving long distances without sleep, and even next to co-driver sleeping on the floor while they were actually using music, to blast the music, smoking and so on and so forth, to torture literally. And no different was on that car assembly line, while the other position that involved my commuting myself 80 miles in one direction did not even disburse me for what this employer was due to pay me, over $2,000. This is how that was in 2008. But this actually was nothing yet. During that 18 months period, I would report how extreme stalking, bullying, challenging have taken place against me. What I have in my mind was literally ambulance vehicles which would stalk me and would drive right next to me at very low speeds and asking me for directions in the middle of the night. Or I would simply have ambulance vehicles slowly driving behind me to intimidate me, to bully me, to challenge me. And then finally in 2007 car assassination plot have taken place in place called Pekel. If translated from Slovenian Pekel, it translates to hell. Therefore the communists, their sense for humor, their sarcasm, have taken them as far as attempting to assassinate me in a place called hell. On what car parts, for which I have paid, were never ever delivered from Germany. I want to thank you to Angela Merkel, because it's all thanks to her that also these things have taken place. As I mentioned already prior to that, other countries were heavily involved in this situation. Car parts were never delivered from the Germany. Police have declined to cooperate with me, declined to provide services from me, and I have in mind Interpol, I have in mind German police, and I have in mind what was local police in Novo Mesto, which I have contacted. I have contacted all three branches. None of them wanted to collaborate with me. None of them wanted to assist me for months, or till that company actually disappeared. And I can tell you that company disappeared with a certain reason, and that's exactly the reason, because it's a government behind this. It's a German government, Angela Merkel government behind it all. Upon my filing the assistance request, therefore for those parts that were not delivered from the Germany, what should have been assistance as required by the police. They are required to assist public when those report thefts or crime as described here. These local police officers have actually, in Novo Mesto, this communist scum, have actually turned against me and have begun to harass me. The police officers who are involved in this harassment in 2007, 2008 against me have lost their case against me with what was a state senate. The police officers, yes, the state senate, as I complain against them, have decided to benefit me and have actually rationalized that these police officers have actually deliberately failed to act accordingly to what their position as entrusts them as a police officers. They have deliberately ignored their job and so on. Further, these police officers were the same police officers who have promised me assassination, which would take place upon my return from United States of America. This promise have taken place prior to my departure in 1995, when I have left the United States of America. And my father have had me meet communists, as described on my blogs, in person, in the garage, downstairs, where those would actually demand me to enroll myself in a communist party, or if I would leave the United States of America, how, in case I would decide to stay there, how I would be jobless, and the day I would return back to so-called Slovenia, what would be murdered, assassinated. We're talking about absolutely the same people. 18-month period during which all of a sudden psychiatrists, psychologists have appeared out of nowhere. Friends from my father, the government psychiatrists who began to actually offer me, together with a neighbor, doctor, what would be treatments for unfunded diseases. And what actually had as a result my being compelled to escape to United States of America again in March of 2008. This is how I was treated. So now when you pretty much know what have taken place, what is taking place, let's learn about whose interests are involved in this persecution, in this genocide against me. And what I have in my mind are my closest family members, such as mother, father, and foremost my sister. Whoa, did I just mention my mother, my father, and my sister? Did I? Oh yeah. 100% my mother, my father, and my sister. My sister due to financial interests. My father and my mother because in this pro-Yugoslav, pro-Serbian state, so-called Slovenia, which have separated from Yugoslavia with ethnic war in 1991, as you know, Yugoslavia have fallen apart, but the communists have sworn how they would create a second Yugoslavia, even against the people's will, even if it's going to take ethnic cleansing, even if they have to kill each and every one of us, or exactly explained under my case how they will create a second Yugoslavia. And how they're going to do that, they're just going to rape everybody, kill everybody, and that's going to be it, pretty much. But let's go back to my mama, my papa, later on my sister. Not only have severe abuse, not only was severe abuse taking place against me regularly inside of the school since kindergarten, when I was compelled to face off 10 kids or more basically on a daily basis, all by myself, who have acted with extreme violence against me under the close teacher supervision. I'm not going to even go in other abuse that was performed against me inside of the school. But later on, or at home, I have faced what were my parents as well. My parents have acted against me with abuse that greatly exceeds the one of the pedophiles. And I would say even the worst pedophiles that ever existed in the history of humankind. The abuse that was performed on me by my mother, by my father, was not only severe mental abuse, but when it comes to physical beatings, I have actually feared to even dress in shorts during in the school when we had that gymnastics class. And on several occasions, as I described on my blog, I have escaped what was death. I have cheated death on several occasions by literally running for my life. This abuse from my parents should, with no excuse, leave them inside of the jail for the rest of their life. And I don't care, is it 50 or 100 years? But it was instead used in this pro-Yugoslav, pro-Serbian state, pro-Russian state, as an extension, as an helpful extension by Slovenian government to basically cover up what was genocide or ethnic cleansing against ethnic population in so-called Slovenia. And this is how, as I stated, what was taking place in the school was well in agreement with my parents. Not that they did not know about what exactly was taking place against me in the school, but they have actually incited the teachers in behavior as they did, and those have actually rewarded my parents for their engaging in crime against me in home settings. The situation at home was severe. It was extreme situation. Not only did I wanted to leave this home at young age, but since I have managed to escape literally managed to escape, as there was basically no life for me in so-called Slovenia. There was no job, there was no future, there was no chance to go to educate, no job, no this, no that. As I have managed to avoid this insanity in so-called Slovenia, and as I stated, I accepted the job overseas that required me 140 hours per week of work as a busboy aboard cruise ship Meridian. And as I have escaped that, the intensity of this genocide, of this persecution, of these beatings, of this sadistic, of this torture, physical, mental, was so huge. The intensity was so huge that pro-Yugoslav Slovenian communist scum have first demanded from me to sign and become a Communist Party member. That have taken place when I was about to leave the United States of America, and as I did. And afterwards have in 1998, upon my arrival to United States of America, I have married to much older Ecuadorian Indian woman from South America with a pure intention or to avoid seeing this very people. This is how intense were these acts of genocide against me by my parents, conducted against me by my parents. And so in order to do that, in order to avoid this communist scum, in order to avoid this future beatings, this abuse, I have gone as far as marrying much older South American Indian woman who had store. As I mentioned to you, in 1995, the communists have promised me joblessness in the United States of America in case I would decide to stay over there. They have already promised me to make my life impossible. In fact, the Jew at United States Immigration have, on the first appointment which I had with United States Immigration, told me in the face that I have no right to stay in the United States of America because the communists in so-called Slovenia want me back at all costs. That I was told in the face by the Jew. And as I did not agree to that, he have actually promised me to make my life impossible. Simple as that. But because this wife, I knew all this will take place, but because this wife, which I have married, this South American, had her own store, they were not able to deport me as a result of that. And this is why I have ended up marrying her, and was able to obtain even what was United States citizenship, even that I worked for 8 years more in that store totally for free. But I did manage somehow to avoid them. What I was not able to avoid them was simple fact that this pro-Yugoslav Slovenian communist scum have gone as far as with my parents hiring what were Norwegian, Swedish team of psychiatrists who claimed to be humanists in Miami, and have with the Jews first orchestrated what was some sort of harassment at my first employment, which they have used later on as an excuse how they are in Miami and they will help me out and this and that. Till one day they have literally, or upon my obtaining what was permission to leave United States of America, visa, you know, that goes in gradually, you obtain, before you obtain that permanent residence, you get those conditional steps that you have to do, and one of those conditional steps involved that temporary residence, whatever, which allowed me also to exit United States in '98. And at that point, this crew of Norwegians, Swedes, literally have abducted me. In FBI in Miami, in CIA in Miami, in CIA quarters in Miami, they have used, the Slovenian government have used Jewish officers, which have literally provided cover up for this operation, and was transported 3/4 unconscious on the wheelchair to Miami International Airport, and from Miami International Airport to Scandinavia, and then to Slovenia. The crime, the intensity these people have committed against me was so overwhelming that they have feared for what they have done against me so much that they were basically ready and willing to do just about anything possible in order to avoid persecution, in order to avoid international charges based on extreme abuse against individual. And therefore, what follow up on that is already explained well in my blogs, but it went as far as demanding the communist scum, once I was transported to Slovenia in 1998, to stay here at all costs. And upon my spending months unconscious, 3/4 conscious, on the wheelchair, declining to stay here, declining to have anything to do with the parents. I was inside of this house. And the rest of the time I have spent over there what I thought would be my friend, but it came out more than anything that he was a scum communist who have really backstabbed me badly, have created his money based on my misfortune, what he came to. It came to the point that because I was declining to stay in Slovenia in 1998, they have literally thrown me on an operation table and begun to threaten to implant in me what would be a chip implant. This neighboring Kotar, this communist, Igor Kotar, have threatened me with what would be either you will comply and stay in Slovenia, or we're going to perform on you surgery. And you know what? This mental torture went so far. Actually, they have performed many forms of torture prior to that, during my stay in Slovenia, because I didn't comply, that I have suffered what was a cardiac arrest at age 23. At that point, as they have realized that I will not stay, that they will have to literally kill me for me to stay in this shithole communist, pro-Yugoslav, they have thrown me back on the plane, flying me to Scandinavia, where I was compelled to stay in and out in psychiatric hospitals for months without having the opportunity to have any sexual intercourse or ability to release myself sexually, and compelled basically to watch porn movies with the females of other races. And the idea behind was to actually pervert me to the point when I would be willing to accept and intermarry with a Serbian for the sake of great Yugoslavia or Serbia, what have explained to me German hypnotist who also was involved in this crime, because Frau or Miss Angela Merkel was deeply, the liberals, the German liberals were deeply involved in this garbage, and they have all reasons to cover up the crime against the rest of the German population worldwide. They have collaborated with a Yugoslav, with a Serbian, with Slovenian scum, more than you could ever imagine. If it took to kill our people, if it took to kill us, it really didn't matter. It did not matter at all. This is why it is in such a high interest to basically get me killed, to basically get me murdered, so I wouldn't be able to witness and tell you the truth exactly what have taken place. And when it comes to my sister, her daughter got married to a Jew and half Serbian. And this half Jew, half Serbian, including her daughter, have great financial interest in my parents. Because for all this abuse, for the compliance in genocide against me, my parents were entitled to extra monies, to a lot of money from the government. The government have supported their actions basically on every steps. So all those stocks, shares that were given to them were worth of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And when you take in consideration the property where we are, that one is also worth at several $100,000. And this is by basically getting me killed, would basically entitle them to my portion of inheritance. Basically is what it is. This is why all this have taken place.